let's come back to the Everest, right? Which caught my attention as well when you really accomplished this Mount Everest. What made you think to go there? And tell us more about your journey. How did you accomplish that? What was your planning? How many days you were there? And what are the challenges you faced?
So I've always wanted to climb the 7 summits. So Everest Base Camp was definitely one of the first starting steps to getting there. And I've also been seeing a lot of stories and reading a lot of news about what's going on in Nepal right now with Everest Base Camp. And right now, I think they're planning to move Everest Base Camp. And I've been hearing a lot about, the way Everest Base Camp is structured and how they're finding microplastics now near Everest. So I really wanted to go there and see for myself what was going on as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so first I planned the actual trip about 3 years in advance because we were actually supposed to go before COVID happened. But because of COVID, our trip got delayed 2 years and we ended up going after COVID. And for planning and preparation of the trip, it was definitely a lot more preparation than any of my other hikes that I've ever done before, because first thing, we were going to another country and we needed many, many more supplies to deal with the altitude and to deal with the cold over there. And one thing that was different from the Everest Base Camp than any of the other hikes I've ever done was the level of uncertainty that we experienced. Because of the high altitude, you never knew if you were going to wake up the next morning and if you were going to be sick. You never knew if you were going to have a headache. You never knew if you were going to wake up throwing up. You never knew if you were going to wake up having diarrhea. You never knew what kind of symptoms you would have that would make you need to turn back. I remember in the mornings we would wake up in our lodges and there'd be people who were getting airlifted out who were perfectly fine the night before. So that was very scary to have to deal with, but it was part of the experience. But definitely Everest Base Camp, it was something that I had always wanted to do. And it took us a total of 12 days to do. And we went up in elevation about 12,000 feet. And we started first we had to helicopter actually into a small town named Lukla. And from there, we had to hike all the way up to Everest Base Camp, which took us about 8 days. And then we took 3 days to hike back. We went much faster on the hike back because as you're going downhill, you're going down in elevation. So it's easier to hike back. However, when we were going higher, it became a lot harder for us to hike because the higher you go in elevation, the harder it is to breathe also. And the harder it is to breathe, the harder it makes it to hike. And the harder it makes us to hike, the more tired you are. And the more effort and energy you have to put into hiking.
I know that what kind of adventure you have done. So how you went alone or your father assisted or who all went along with you?
So I went along with my family and I went with my brother, my mom, and my dad. And the journey was going quite good until the 2 days before we went to Everest Base Camp, my brother got altitude sickness. So he was unfortunately unable to complete the journey with us. So it ended up just being my mom and my dad and me going to Everest Base Camp.
So they are also all trained and fit. They increased their fitness for this journey. Your mom and dad?
Definitely you have to do a lot more increase in fitness and training just because you need to have a lot more stamina than you would normally have, because the higher you go in altitude, the much harder it is to breathe normally.
God, hats off to your parents and the entire family, Saanvi.
Thank you.
Because it is not only you hiking, right? They are all coming along with you, and in their busy schedule, they found like at least a month, I believe, right? At least 15-20 days they would have spent with you. Is that
yes,
true?
it was about 3 weeks, I think, we spent in Nepal.
It's amazing. I think everyone would have enjoyed. And a basic question is, what do you mean by base camp? Base camp in the sense you have in certain level of Everest, you have a base camp, or what? Why do they call base camp?
So I believe Everest Base Camp is located at about 5,364 meters.
Mm-hmm.
And Everest Base Camp, it's not at the base of Everest. It's the starting point of the hike to go up and climb Mount Everest. And it's right in middle of the Khumbu Glacier, which is why I think they're planning to move it now, because I think it's kind of dangerous to have it in middle of that glacier in case anything melts or anything moves or anything happens. But that's basically the starting point of where the Everest hikers start climbing. So once you start climbing Mount Everest, there's different camps. There's Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, and Camp 4. And Everest Base Camp is right before Camp 1. And that's where you start your trek to Mount Everest.
What is facilities throughout the journey of the Mount Everest? So how was the facilities? If something happens, was there everything handy from the government?
So we would stay at tea houses. There were very basic, simple tea houses. They would have a common lodge where everyone would sit and eat together. And then your rooms would have 2 beds in them. And you would either have a bathroom in your room, or you would have a common bathroom that you would share with everyone on the floor. And in the beginning, the bathrooms did have flushes in them. But as we got higher and higher, we would have common bathrooms and the bathrooms wouldn't have flushes. So you would have to flush everything down yourself. And so it was very, very basic needs. There wasn't anything fancy for sure. For safety, I don't think the government really provided anything. If anything ever happened to you, you would want to make sure you had insurance so you can charter yourself a helicopter to get out of the place that you were in danger. So we had insurance, luckily. So in case anything ever happened, we could call up a helicopter company and they could come and they could take us out and fly us back to Kathmandu.
That's a great risk you have taken. So how about this? Do we need to inform or register yourself to inform the government that you are doing a hike to Mount Everest?
Yeah, so you have to get permits. You have to buy permits before it. And there are multiple checkpoints throughout the entire trek where you have to show your permit and you have to get it approved. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, how the government keeps track of who's coming in and who's coming out.
So while you were doing this, did you find the other trekkers as well coming along with you?
Yeah, there were many other trekkers that were also hiking Everest Base Camp. And it's really fascinating to hear where they're coming from and why they're doing Everest Base Camp, because there's people from all over the world. I met people from India. I met people from Europe. I also met this man from Switzerland who was just backpacking in the Himalayas for months. And it was just really fascinating to hear all their stories and why they choose to do Everest Base Camp.
So what did you hear from that, Saanvi? Because many people come from the different parts of the world. And do you think everyone are like you, doing nature, trekking and loving nature? Those kind of people only come? Or do anyone come just for fun and see we have to go to the Everest and, we have to achieve that? What kind of people you found?
Yeah, I think everyone comes for their own reasons. I think everyone has a reason for being there. The people who I talked to, they loved exploring and being in nature as well. This one person who I talked to from Switzerland, he actually was there the entire month. He didn't have any guide or anything. He was just out there backpacking, trying to explore as much as he can. And he was definitely a huge inspiration for me, because that's what hopefully I want to do when I'm older. I want to go and just backpack and explore nature and just be me and nature. So I met all different sorts of people, and hearing all their stories is definitely a big inspiration for me, because when I grow up, I aim to be a lot like those people and have that kind of connection with nature that they are having.
Excellent. You talked about 7 summits, right? So still you have more to go again nearby the Everest and again go all these summits, or you have accomplished everything?
Yeah, so I still have to start the 7 summits. The 7 summits is the tallest mountain in each continent. So in Asia, that would be Mount Everest. In US, that would be Denali. In Africa, that'd be Kilimanjaro. So I am planning to climb Mount Kilimanjaro next year. So my goal is to climb all 7 summits and also just explore as many mountains and as many national parks as I can.
Amazing, amazing, Sanvi. So tell us the viewers, like, if you want to plan any of the summit, right? What will be the expense? Roughly, I don't want you to account for, but I just wanted the audience to know what kind of effort, what kind of cost, what kind of risk you are taking.
So it's, first of all, it's definitely a very physically enduring activity. You have to make sure you're very, very physically fit. Otherwise, it is life threatening if you're not physically fit, if you're going to do any of these hikes. And for the cost, it does cost a lot of money, which is why you have to plan years and years and years before you attempt any of these hikes, because the number one thing is your safety, and you want to make sure you're safe, which means you have to be physically fit, you have to be mentally fit, and you want to make sure you have the correct guides and the correct resources to help you along the way.
Absolutely, Sanvi. Anyway, hats off to you for these thoughts. It is very scary for me to hear, but I wish you have to go to all the summits, and then you have to write all the blogs, and also your Instagram should be floated with everything, and then we all will enjoy seeing you going to the heights. And also, it's all for us to look at what kind of mountains you are seeing. So tell us about the education part. Are you planning to continue your studies in any of the nature related studies? Have you figured it out, or you are going to generally go to any of the engineers or doctors? What is your plan there?
So as far as my career, like when I was younger, when I was in fourth grade, I wanted to become a dolphin trainer. Later, when I was in middle school, I wanted to become a doctor. And now I want to become a wildlife biologist. But one thing I've noticed that is always constant is my need to explore and enjoy, and my curiosity is always growing. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I think wherever I go, I want to continue to explore as much as I can.
Absolutely, Sanvi. We wish you in that route as well. So tell us, what is your goal, ultimate goal after, see, when you started at 6 and you are now after 15, you have accomplished a lot being into this trekking, rock climbing, and also being close to the nature. Now, what is your dreams or goals or vision in the next 5 years, what you want to do?
So my vision is to definitely climb as many mountains as I can, hike as much as I can, and to also spread the message about how important it is to spend time with nature. What I've noticed is these days, the more in touch we get with technology, the more out of touch we get with nature. And being able to visit so many national parks at a young age, I realized how much more happy I am when I'm spending time out in nature, how much more happy I am when I'm backpacking for days without proper food and tents, when I'm, hiking, and how much less happy I am when I'm, in my air conditioned house. And I wanted to figure why am I so much more happy when I'm surrounded by nature? And these days, we do everything on technology. We communicate on technology. We do our studies, and in school, we learn on technology. We get entertained on technology. So after researching and learning, why am I so much happier and why do I feel this way when I'm out in nature? I read a lot that, nature can actually help improve your attention. It can help lower stress. It can help better your mood. It can actually give you a reduced risk of psychiatric disorders. And also, most importantly, can also raise your dopamine levels, which makes you happier. And there's also many, many other cognitive benefits from spending time with nature. And I believe all of this is so important to society, especially in my generation, where things like anxiety and depression are so prevalent, and everything and everyone is around technology. I think it's so much important to go back to nature, to learn some of those survival and primal skills that, we need to know in order for our physical body and our mental health to be much better. And also, it's actually scientifically proven that the more time you spend in nature, your carbon footprint also decreases. So the more time we spend in nature, the more motivated people are going to be to help the planet. So if we just encourage people to spend more time in nature, then all these things like climate change and the harming of our earth, I believe, can be organically fixed by just encouraging people to spend more time with nature, which is why I think one of the most important things we can do right now is to encourage our policymakers to start building and creating more green spaces that everyone can go and visit near their houses in order to get more touch with nature. Psychologists say that, just taking a short walk every day, even in an urban environment, can help better your mood throughout the day.
Absolutely.
And yeah. And as Albert Einstein once said, look deep into nature and you will understand everything better. The earth always has constant natural energy that is always flowing. And when you're outside and you're walking around nature, you're absorbing this energy. So I think the best thing we can just do for the earth, for our bodies, for our mental health, is to just encourage other people to go spend time with nature and to go out and reap the benefits of all the beautiful wonders that we have on our planet.
Wow, Saanvi, it's a great learning, even including me. You are right. As and when the technology is growing, people are only limiting to their house. I agree with you. Everyone should explore the nature and be in touch with the nature. Maybe the policymakers will definitely hear you and make those changes and adjustments where people can go flexible and work there. That also gives an option. And do you do any camps where you throw this awareness to all the kids, or are you planning to take them and at least tell your experiences and handhold them for all these hikings and being close to the nature? Are you planning for that?
Yes, as a National Park Trust ambassador, that is one of my roles that I have to perform. I'm planning to go visit national parks and talk to kids and go to different schools and encourage kids to go and spend time with nature. The experiences that I've had with national parks and the experiences that I've had with nature, I want to make sure that at least as many kids as I can experience that in their lifetime and experience the connection that I felt with nature in their lifetimes.
I think that's great idea, Sanvi. Even if you see in India, there is a new pattern going on. Everyone going and camping outside, and people during this pandemic, they are creating some groups where they wanted to, take you explore places, do a camping, and create some experience. I think that's everything is happening in Instagram and social media, and I think you also should do those and encourage people. That way, you can train some of the volunteers like you and then give some experience to them. So I think that would be great help. And I would definitely encourage you that doing that. And I'm very, very proud to be talking to you. And this gives, see, my ultimate goal is to inspire people, right? Like you. So any Americans, NRIs, Indo-American community, I wanted to, bring people like you and inspire others. That's the main goal of this entire show. And hopefully my all the viewers have learned a lot from you. And please let them, in the interest of time, I would love to tell a message to the community. What is the message that you wanted to give to the community? And also tell about your Instagram ID and how they can read more about you, follow you, and learn from you.
The earth is billions and billions of years old. Meanwhile, our human lifespan is only 70 to 80 years. So in our lifetime, let's explore, seek, learn, and enjoy and reap the benefits of nature as much as we can. And let's use nature to help better our society and ourselves. And nature has so many different ways of improving not only the planet, but also our lives. So I think that going out and spending time with nature is one of the best things you can do for yourselves and for the planet. And it's important that now we take action and we encourage our policymakers to invest more money and invest more time into creating more green spaces for us to go and spend time in. And also on my Instagram handle. It's at Chalkbags Intense. I have a series called Saanvi Speaks, where I talk about different ways that you can help nature, such as composting, such as the effects of wasting food on our planet, such as the effects of water wastage, and also different ways to just get closer to nature and spend time with nature in your daily lives, and the value of spending time with nature in your daily life. I also give updates on my different adventures that I go on, and I share stories of what I'm up to in the different national parks I visit and the different treks and hikes I go on.
Thank you, Saanvi. Thank you so much. And all the viewers, thank you for your time. And please go and visit this particular show. There is a recorded show, and I want everyone to learn from Saanvi what she does, and also be close to the nature and enjoy the nature, and keep introducing me good people like Saanvi, where we can inspire and bring them onto the light and see what they are doing, and at least we can learn something from them. Thank you so much. Thank you, Saanvi. Have a wonderful weekend, and hope you have one more hiking today. Thank you.
Thank you. And one last thing I just want to say quickly is we don't have to save the planet, but we just have to stop spoiling it. And I think that's a really important message for people to hear.
Definitely, Saanvi. Thank you.